1:30. Welcome everyone to the Port Morrow Commission meeting, September 10th, 2025. All commissioners and present in the room. We can go around the room here and introduce ourselves, please. Let's start.
Yeah, I'm Nick Bradley, Aqua Engineering. We talked about the secondary treatment process project as well as giving an update on the storage ponds.
Yes, I report more.
Mark Patton for Morrow.
Lisa Middlestar, Port of Morrow. Ivan Hendricks, Port of Morrow.
Wayne Elliott, Rock Solid Sand Gravel.
Rebecca Place, rock solid sand gravel.
Jeff McGarry, Port of Morrow. Jake Patterson, Management.
Troy Griggs,
Station Port of Morrow. Eric, Port of Morrow. Or anywhere in Port of Morrow.
Mind, I'm going to online, please.
Perfect, we'll start with Don Brady. Oh, looks like any John already has property, just lost it again. So I'm going to Kyla.
Kyla Baumgartner, rock solid sand and gravel.
John, right there now?
John Doherty, City of Hebner.
And Sam Tucker,
Sam Tucker, Port Attorney.
Cody,
Cody Barber, Aqua Engineering.
Aaron. Are you there, Aaron? Yeah, please. Kirby. And we just lost Kirby. Ryan.
Hey everyone, Ryan Gleason with CFM Advocates.
Thank you. Brandon.
Brandon Hammond, Boardman City Manager.
Jessica.
Jessica Sparza, Port of Morrow Warehouse.
And Jackie. Jackie, can you introduce yourself? One more, have a couple of engineers that are joining right now.
Bob Fisher.
Yes.
And Karen entered the room. Welcome, Karen. All right, thank you very much. We will go into the public comment period right now. And just a reminder, we have 2 people signed up to speak. It's a 3-minute time period. And would be welcome your comments. It's not something that the Port Commission generally responds to, okay? So please, welcome, Wade, you're first.
I'll go first.
Yeah,
because
okay.
it's kind of.
Okay, your name is Rebecca.
Yes, my name is Rebecca Price. I'm with Rock Solid Sand and Gravel. We are a family-owned aggregate business. We operate and reside within Morrow County. We felt the need to come and speak to the board today. We have been working with the Port of Morrow for many years now on various projects, from road projects to providing aggregate for the majority of the building projects for the port. We have had a successful business relationship throughout the years. With growth in industry and construction, we have been constantly trying to think of the future. We know that as we make aggregate for these various projects, we are using up our aggregate sources. This is something we have been thinking about for a long time. In about 2000, Wade Senior, who's not here, but the owner of the business, started talking to people about the Army Depot land. Since then, we continued on with the port when it was thought that the port was gonna get the majority of it. And then when it went to CDA, we started going to the CDA meetings, we've discussed it with them. We've talked to the Army, we've talked to the tribes, we've talked to everybody associated with that land. As things move forward, we truly hope that the board members and port staff members consider us insights for aggregate. I like those stuff that the port's gonna get from the CDA land, if that happens, when that happens. We are a local family-owned business who keep revenue local, support the local economy, schools. all often too lately, big corporations come in and take over just because they can. We just ask that we are considered moving forward as we have established a good business relationship with the Port of Morrow. That it is taken into consideration that aggregate resources need to be established to continue growth of industry. We have completed studies on which areas would provide the most beneficial aggregate resources. Which has provided us with the opportunity to create an innovative plan to utilize aggregate resources while also utilizing the land for industry and agriculture. We're asking for a fair opportunity to utilize properties for aggregate purposes. Many industries are given the opportunity to utilize port ground. We just ask that we are also given this opportunity. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Wait, please.
Hello, everyone. I'm Wade Aylett, Rock Solid Sand and Gravel. So, thanks to the CDA, they allowed us to go in and do an innovative study of the property. So we have done test plots. I think we are at about 120 test holes at about 30-foot depth. And we've done geological studies to know the gradations of which areas are going to produce the best, basically engineering specs. When we go to engineer the rock, you can't just dig anywhere and expect it to be within gradation when you go to process. And with that being said, a lot of the cities outside of here, they've done to where they've built the city on top of their resources and they've blocked themselves. And so Portland, for example, they are imported from Canada. They take imports of aggregates all the way from that spot. Also, Boardman here, they ship everything to Portland as well. And Tri-Cities, they've done the same to where they have ran out of all their resources. They are no longer, I think within 2 years, they will be depleted of their aggregate resources. And so the reason why I bring this up is you guys are huge on industry and building this into something that works. And my biggest concern is that we're building on top of all of our resources to continue down the road. And so with that being said, I would like to provide a plan to be able to process the minerals, but not just dig a hole. Everybody thinks of a gravel pit where it's just a hole. My plan is to process a big pad and bench. And let's say I'm on this plot and I want to provide something for an agricultural field of some sort. I would process the sand, and in these test studies, it shows that we are just above the spec range for 200s and our sand deposits and our 100s. And so when we wash, we process those fines out of that sand, and we would build cells to where we would get with an engineer to know the depth in which would be adequate to seal the ground, to where we're not just, because it's just sand deposit out there on the west side of that CDA property. And then that would create to where it's more, could be utilized better in water efficiency on containing and sealing that water. It's not just passing through our sand deposit. And so I just hope that I get a fair opportunity to show you guys my integrated plan. I have a packet, a big book on it, and just to provide you guys some insight on it and see if there's room for me to grow as an individual in this area. So, thank you.
We appreciate your comments. Thank you. Is there anyone else? All right, we're going to move on to consent agenda, please. Since everyone had a chance to review it. Motion.
I'll second that.
Motion by Rick, second by Joel to approve consent agenda. Do you have any concerns? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Unanimous. Legislative updates. Ryan, I see you're there. Would you like to go first?
I am happy to. Hi, everyone. And Kirby is back. He was just having some technical challenges, so we do have him with us today. And I will start by saying, so sorry for missing the last meeting. We had some issues with our reoccurring calendar invite. Turns out those lapse after 4.5 years. We have made it so those don't lapse, and you will continue to see us every month. So I'll kick off my update. In normal years, summer is a really quiet time for legislators on the state level, giving them time to just recharge after a long legislative session in particular. That was not the case this year. After the failure of the legislature to pass the transportation package, Governor Kotek took charge of things and said no days off until they pass the package. So she pulled folks together, particularly key Democratic lawmakers. She was definitely negotiating with key Republicans as well. We know how those negotiations went, but after some meetings in July and August, a package was the result of a 6-cent gas tax increase, a $42 registration fee increase, a $139 title fee increase, and the STIF, which is an employee paid payroll tax that funds transit services across the state going from 0.1% to 0.2%. And we also saw a road user charge adding electric vehicles and hybrid vehicles to ensure that they are paying their fair share. So this package was part of the longstanding revenue sharing agreement between state and local governments, meaning that 50% of the money in this package goes to the state highway fund for ODOT and the state to spend on their roads, and then 50% goes to counties and cities to ensure that they are also able to maintain their critical road infrastructure as well. And so we get to the special session starting, and without the ability to get to a quorum necessary, that means 40 Democrats in the House, or excuse me, 40 lawmakers in the House. Democrats only have 36 of those, so they need 4 Republicans there. And then 20 in the Senate, 18 Democrats is what they have, and they need 2 Republicans to show up to ensure that they have quorum. They were forced to negotiate and adopt additional amendments to ensure that they could move forward with their plan to pass this package to ensure that ODOT positions were not lost due to the reduction in funds that they were seeing. So they made some changes to the highway cost allocation study to allow the Department of Administrative Services to balance the highway cost allocation in a cost neutral way. And then that second amendment would sunset the payroll tax after 2 years, which was definitely a blow to the transit advocates that had been wanting a permanent payroll tax increase. So the bill largely passed the House on party lines. We had 1 Democrat joining Republicans in voting no, and 1 Republican joining Democrats in voting yes. And this was just after a few hours of debate. Unfortunately for Governor Kotek, her plan quickly hit a wrinkle. Despite having its first and second reading on the Senate side, the bill failed to move forward due to a Democratic senator being out for some health challenges. This individual is still out. We are hearing that they will be back potentially on September 17th. The health challenges are largely unknown at this time, so the special session is still in effect until then. Also, last month, lawmakers heard more definitively the impacts of H.R. 1, or more commonly known as Trump's Big Beautiful Bill, which Kirby might talk about a little bit more, on Oregon's state budget. And during the quarterly revenue forecast presented to the revenue committees, the economists presented a very bleak picture of what is going to happen in Oregon. Oregon is down about $950 million combined general fund and lottery fund resources since the close of session forecast, and that came out just 3 months ago. And this is largely due to components of the measure, including state and local tax deduction cap increases, overtime exclusion, bonus depreciation, just to name a few things. There are a lot more in there that are impacting what's happening. This is going to have a significant impact on decisions that the legislature is going to be able to make come February, which is during the 2026 session. They're not going to be able to fund critical priorities like housing, behavioral health, water infrastructure, other things like that. This is also not considering other federal funds reductions like SNAP, TANF, Medicaid. Those are all federal funds. We are just talking about general fund and lottery fund reductions. Moving on to some upcoming deadlines, we have legislative days coming up on September 29th and October 1st. It's been pretty quiet on the front of what we're hearing for what's happening during legislative days, just because everyone has been so focused on the transportation package. But usually these legislative days, both in September and in November, are previews of what's to come for session, including potential concepts related to water, economic development, which are pretty important for things that we track. And then just last deadline of note is November 21st is the deadline for legislative concept submittal for 2026. So it's been largely focused on transportation the last few months. That's kind of where everyone's that and on the political front where everyone's attention has been at. But hopefully either once we're past the legislative special session and moving on with other issues, we'll see legislators' attention turn to other topics. That is my update for now.
Thanks, Ryan. As a small business owner and driver in Eastern Oregon, isn't particularly rosy out there. Thanks, Ryan. We appreciate it. Kirby, please.
All right, here we are. Good afternoon. Good to see everyone. I'll start with a quick big picture DC update. I feel like a broken record sometime, but government spending is yet again the big looming item on Capitol Hill. The federal government runs out of money in 3 weeks, and there's really no clear outcome of how they're going to keep the lights on. Republicans are pretty split on their strategy. Some want to pass a year-long continuing resolution already and kind of throw their hands up and give up already. Others want a 30 to 60-day extension to give more time to bipartisan negotiations. Senate Majority Leader Thune put out a clean short-term extension today that Democrats shot down. Democrats are insisting that they will not greenlight whatever Republicans put forward this time without having a negotiation first. There's still a lot of resentment from Democrats over how Democratic leadership folded in the last negotiation on all of this back in March, when leadership kind of gave in without extracting any concessions. So this time, Democrats want something, and many of them are stating that they want at least an extension of expiring Obamacare subsidies. But it's people are still kind of taking positions, and it's a very, very fuzzy picture, and there's no clear crystal ball, that's for sure. All of this I bring up because it's relevant to us, because these are the government spending bills, not only that fund our grant programs that we pursue funding from, but it's where we get our congressionally directed spending awards, aka earmarks. So far on that front, it has been tough sledding. I've talked about this, but last year's awards all had to be rolled into this year's bill. And so every project that wasn't in last year's bill is kind of starting at the back of the line, and there's just a backlog basically with limited space. That said, we are still keeping our fingers crossed for our business incubator project in Ione. We are waiting for the Senate to mark up the financial services and general government bill. It's one of the few that they have not marked up yet and provided a draft of at this point. And again, that's where we are seeking to have our $1.8 million for an Ione incubator building is what we put forward, and what Senator Merkley and Senator Wyden put forward to the committee. So we will keep our fingers crossed there and keep you posted in the months ahead. See what happens. Switching gears, the Maritime Administration's grant review window for the Port Infrastructure Development Program, otherwise known as PIDP, that review period will begin this week. We submitted our application months ago in the spring, but the Trump administration extended the deadline and tweaked the grant solicitation. So we should have news by the end of the year on grant selections, and if not, earlier next year. Again, this is a grant that we put forward for planning dollars to assess the Terminal 3 and the improvements that need to be done there for the gantry crane to stabilize things. And then lastly, I just wanted to touch on WIFIA. I know that's a separate agenda item. I just wanted to mention quickly, and as this might be coming up, there's started to be a lot of speculation among different WIFIA applicants about the future of the program and whether the Trump administration will be keeping it and making new loans. A lot of this is coming up because EPA has not made and closed on any loans since the beginning of the year. There's been closing dates that have been pushed back and delayed, and the administration proposed zero new funding in their budget request to Congress. So in light of all this, I reached out to the program director and I talked to her. She assured me that the administration is committed to the program, that the delays are really just accounted to the change in administration and new processes and who's signing off on these things, and just more scrutiny in those processes of how they're signing off on making grants and loans. Plus, Trump's EPA director did make some WIFIA announcements earlier this year in terms of selecting new projects. They just haven't closed on any loans yet. I did hear just today, though, some word that they may be closing on another loan, which would be the first of this year, and that might open the floodgates. So this could be, kind of much ado about nothing. Regardless, though, it's obviously something we want to monitor very, very closely, given the importance of WIFIA to the ports project. And we're working closely with the congressional delegation just to ensure that the ports project and its loan is as close to that top of the queue for EPA once it is actually ready for closing, and that gets signed and delivered as soon as possible, just to ensure that financing does come through. So anyways, just want to touch on that real quick. That is all I have for today, and happy as always to take some questions, but appreciate the chance to give an update.
Thank you, Kirk. I appreciate the update on the WIPIA too. It's a slow process, and no matter which administration is in it, I think. Any
Yes.
questions for Kirby? I do appreciate the update. Thanks, Kirby.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. We're gonna go into old business. First one is CDA update. I don't think we had a recent meeting.
No.
Yeah.
Well, yes, we did. We had an emergency meeting to vote there with the road. Yeah, road. Yeah, further. So that's. They start, well, whatever, that's gonna move forward. Is there gonna be any report on money, or you wanna talk about that?
We don't have a report, no,
Right.
but we did take a tour on there this morning.
Okay.
Dan, Mark, and I, Craig. So you might want to report on what you saw, what you didn't see.
I enjoyed the tour. It's my second time seeing the CDA, and so many of the things that we talk about, after you've seen it once and you talk about things, they didn't gel for me, but this time they really did. To really see where our industrial ground is, where the area of ground that needed to be added to this newest negotiation or lawsuit settlement, those kinds of things. To see how far it is to access on the west side and the need to do that. It was all very informative to me and really put it in perspective. There's a lot of work to do at the CDA. I guess I would just say it's there's a lot of cleanup to do, a lot of space, but it'll be, and it's quite an opportunity for the Port of Morrow, honestly, but it's a big job. That's the challenge. It is nice to see that the bid, quote numbers, I guess, that we heard. Yeah, $12 million, $5 million of which is the UEC grant. So $12 million total, though. The bids came in at the low bid came in at 8.4, and Greg thought maybe rounding out to 9 to complete that project for the bid that was submitted and awarded leaves some money left to do other things with. So I thought for this commission to take them all over and think about point of discussion maybe for next meeting or something.
It's fun to see the property, what we've been talking about, understand the access points, maybe the lack thereof.
Exactly, yeah. And the 640, I've never really seen that. I've not seen the placement of it in regards to the everything else, and the city of Eric for that matter too. So that was very informative to me. So, and the restrictions that we have, where the government property line is and where you can't go because it's a fire and all those little things. Anyway, I enjoyed the tour very much, and Jeff, Commissioner Wendholz was also on the tour, so that was interesting to get perspective there too. It's knowledge. So. Any questions?
I think the discussion with Umatilla County is still ongoing and getting that agreement. I think, well, they're still working on it.
Are the lawyers back on vacation?
Yeah, I don't, they've been on video.
That seemed to be our holdup for a couple of months. There was something else. Oh, fire service was discussed a little bit, and I think we have some information here that was left with us at the beginning of the meeting concerning actions that are going on. Not sure the outcome of that yet. They're working on it. Roy mentioned that he is hoping to increase communication between the two agencies and maybe find a middle ground. That's all possible. Anything else? All right, thank you. With your updates.
We met with Whitfield yesterday for the first time, that just them since Marna retired last spring. And, it was interesting. We had asked them that since we are requiring less money between the EPA 50 million and the reduction in the price of the secondary treatment, whether there was an opportunity to revisit any of the terms. Basically, what we were told last spring was, I'm leaving the end of the month, this is it, take it or leave it. So we would like to revisit that. David Albrecht was on the call. He did try really hard to talk about the issues that Kirby just brought up, and they were unwilling to comment in any way, shape, or form on that subject. And it's not my turn to do the clean water, but if you want to say that we gave them a list of requests on the loan agreement, and we did get their response back just earlier this week. And in my opinion, they gave all the things that were most important, but David still has to review it, and maybe there's something that I'm not seeing that I think it was encouraging. One of those issues was taking the reference to Whitfield financing out of the agreement, because what if we finance elsewhere?
Okay.
And
Well, that's positive, then more positive with you. It's not much we can wrong with. Yeah, so. Are there any other questions on with you or the clean water? Okay, well, thank you for your comments. Appreciate that. I'm glad there's maybe some terms, better terms on the clean water. Well, clean water consortium updates. Kelly.
go ahead and start, I'll fill in.
We had a 3-hour meeting last night. With all kinds of updates. We had an update from the county meeting that was held. It was a good turnout. We packed the house, lots of good questions. Answers are hard to come by yet. There's just not enough facts out there to give to the public yet, to say cost wise and things. The grant writer put together a spreadsheet, which I think is on your desk, about what the financing may look like. It's pretty scary, kind of some sticker shock, I think, where the financing is going to come from, how a small group is going to ever be able to afford that. And I think we found out that we have a really long time and task ahead of us. It's not going to happen quickly. We thought we were going to just put pipes in the ground, and I think we're finding out that there's hurdles along the way that just can't get the horse before the cart, and the cart's coming before the horse on some ideas. And it was an eye opener, I think, for most of us last night to see.
What was the county meeting that you referred to?
Oh, that was part of the outreach program that the county had, spent some money to get the community buy-in, to give them updates and you know, kind of find out what their thoughts were, what they wanted for choices or what the choices were and, you know, are they economical? Do they make sense? Can they afford them? Is that what they want?
So it's a chance for the community to give input to
Yeah.
the
Yep.
cabinet.
And I think there was over 100 people there.
Enough that you're moving on location.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's good. Glad we're getting community input by, hopefully by, we'll see, I guess, we're pending facts, so.
Yeah, I think that the facts hold up is the hold up for the buy-in. I think, you know, they want to hear what it's gonna cost them, you know, how it's gonna be handled. And what their options are, basically. We have lots of options, we just don't have lots of facts.
In your opinion, what is the general feeling of the group? Of the people that live there, is it generally turning more positive toward hooking up to clean water in this way or not?
I think that Matt told us last night he had a 30% response to hooking up to the city, but that was also with the rate that we gave him, which was $30. And I think that that's not
Right.
realistic. And, you know, if there's a sticker shock when that comes in, that survey may greatly change, but right now he thought he had 30%, I think is what he quoted us was. And the others, I think, are looking at deepening their wells, or possibly a district. So those are basically the other options.
Thank you.
I would just say at some point there will have to, after all of the different solutions for that particular neighborhood are collated into a meeting, then there's gotta be decisions about public water system versus private investments in waters, individual wells. Once that happens, then the two bodies, the board, the city of Boardman and county will be discussing pipelines and what kind of assignment we have. Is it 80% of the community? We don't have a specific number yet now. How many will sign on to make that project feasible? Of course, you also have the funding sheet, so you can see how much money is going to be raised by different sources so far. In addition to that, the reports set payments that are going to DQ payments going to OHA. Some of that money is going to come back to this project, and I'd like to get to the point where we're using that money sooner than later.
I've heard some people comment that they're concerned about the time frame that's taking to move forward on this project. What positive steps can be done soon or sooner, or what are next steps?
I think it's hard. We're waiting right now on engineering groups to do preliminary design on system options. So we're doing that both in Boardman and in Uruguay. And it takes a lot longer than we would all like it to take.
I think that we're held up a little bit on the rate study at the city, waiting for that to come through, so that they can actually give us some numbers there. And then, you know, city council has to decide whether this is going to work for the city council. I know Oregon's in the same boat. Oregon is, you know, doesn't have the water capacity right now to even do it, so that all needs to be upgraded. So there's
So the city of Oregon is doing 2 test wells to determine water quality and locations. So they're using some of the money that they've received from Morrow County for that. And then, you know, move on to the next phase. Here, we're just waiting, we're waiting for engineering estimates. We pushed back our next meeting to October so that the city board bank can talk about their rate study and rate increases inside the city limits, or it's being public at somebody else's meeting. So that will happen before the city council the first week of October, and then to discussion to talk about that again. What else is going on? Community group is meeting again to discuss their
There are lots of needs.
Yeah, that's coming out after the day after. I think they've scheduled that for the day after the city council meeting.
Sorry, West Pine Group.
Oh, Westland, I don't know when Westland meets again. I haven't gotten
Okay.
any word on when they're meeting.
So we're keep his army, the community. Oh, it's time. Oh, okay.
You're talking about Westland United.
Yeah, it says West Bank Community Meeting on here.
Yeah, that's,
It's the Morrow County. Oh.
So it was my understanding that, it was discussed last night that it took 10 years to do the water project in Umatilla,
Power City,
our city.
yeah.
What do you mean? What takes so long? The study project?
Buy-in, people buying in, people worried about their being annexed, losing their rights to their animals. It just took that long and they had no water. It wasn't just undrinkable. They didn't have water and the city was providing them with a tanker to come over there and it literally took 10 years. I'm not sure it's still all done after, and Tamara's been here, what, 6 or 7 years?
The project's not done, but the annexation is done,
Yeah,
and they annex that property to the city. And gave them special, so allowed them to have their.
did they annex it or did they just put the special, I think they just put a special layer over. And then if you sold or moved, then you got annexed, is that?
No, it was annexed in with the special zoning to allow them to keep their critters, as Amber calls them.
Yeah. So they did an overlay zone.
So during that,
Yeah.
it really makes me frustrated with the state of it. I hope this doesn't take that long. And
No, when you're used to just having a project and getting engineering and going and finding the financing, doing the project, this is very frustrating for court for sure.
Yeah, I guess I would ask as one commissioner, if we diplomatically spur this project off. And I also say that, people have to make decisions like where we can't make a commitment without a vote of their council. I understand that, they have that discussion, but boy, let's, anyway. Any other discussion on clean water, sorry. Thank you, Richard. All right, moving on, resolution 2025-11, public records request policy updated. We've had this in front of us a couple of times, we've discussed it. I appreciated seeing the list of public records requests and the charges that we made for them. Thank you for that. How does the commission feel about moving forward with approving this resolution?
What was updated on it?
I don't think anything was updated.
The wording, make that resolution.
I think it was just the law.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
not
Only reason I
updated.
wrote updated is because it's updated from the current policy, but
Okay,
nothing
okay.
updated since the
Nothing
last time you
since
saw it,
last
except for
time,
making
okay.
it in resolution.
All right,
And as you can see from your Excel spreadsheet on the public records request, we've been following if it takes us less than 30 minutes, we're not charging them. But as long as you guys are still okay with that, that's the wording that's in there. If it takes longer than 30 minutes, then we would start charging.
So we would need direction to look at that. If you approve that, second, once you go.
Are you saying the resolution doesn't give adequate guidance?
No, it does, it just, that we haven't charged more. We haven't charged in a long time, there's always a million reasons not to charge. But for the most part, I just got one yesterday. And they wanted all of our purchasing records since 2021, which sounds awful, but if it took me 15 minutes, I would be surprised.
Okay.
So,
Thoughts, everyone?
I think as long as it doesn't create a firewall between the public and the public record, then I'm okay with it, a money firewall. As long as do we know what the charges are per hour for our attorneys? I mean, is that something that we're ever gonna put in as a It just says attorney fees, but it doesn't really state.
It depends on which attorney we need to consult. We have a wide variety of hourly rates.
Usually in the hundreds of dollars, something.
Don't think there's anything below that.
Well, that puts it in perspective.
But it does have in there that we would give the estimate first before, so. We would figure out which attorney that we needed to consult with, figure out their hourly rates, figure out how long we thought it would take, and we would give them an estimate before we did it. To see if they still wanted us to proceed.
And we're still giving deference to media.
I didn't understand.
I didn't hear the question either.
Oh, I said, are we still giving deference to media? So if the media asks them, because they are the media, are they going to be exempt from or who's gonna make that decision?
Well, I don't think we addressed that. Generally speaking, when they put in, they say it's for the public good.
Mhm.
Honestly, those have been some of our most expensive transactions.
Very much. We don't specifically say
One way or the other.
you know, we didn't say that they were exempt. I
You need to get it for what's the media.
I'd make a motion to approve resolution 2025-12, a resolution adopting updated Port of Morrow request for public records policies and.
You know, motion and a second to approve resolution 2025-12. Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion as stated, please say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign.
Nay.
Word one, please. I, as a personal request, would like to see ongoing for a while, the report of requests and fees charged, please.
absolutely.
I don't doubt we will apply it consistently, but I just want to know.
Yes, totally easy.
Yeah, thank you. All right, moving on. Aquifer recharge grants.
Oh, okay, that is the grant that we didn't have the documents for last month. It is for $597,900. It is a no match, so that's 100%, assuming that we don't spend more than $597,900. If you look on page 13, it is entirely for design and engineering work. And the other comment is we got the copy from the state with MIF's name as the signature, so we would like it approved and MIF authorized to sign this agreement.
There's nothing of concern to you concerning this grant?
Nope.
See anything? Commissioners, did you have any concerns or anything about this?
No, I didn't.
Would anybody be willing to?
I would, yeah. Move approval that Orange of this today, Department of for recharge. Due diligence program grant contract. And allowing them to sign.
Awesome.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the Oregon Business Development Department Aquifer Recharge Due Diligence Program Grant Contract to be executed by Metadata. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Unanimous, thank you. Moving on. Draft IGA for management of SIP with Morrow County. So do you want to start us off?
I will, we have a draft, to look at, we discussed whether we needed to have this conversation in executive session, because not to, the county had theirs in private session, and after discussion with John, we could go ahead and add it to our agenda right now for you. We asked the county to draft, take the first shot of drafting between us. Remember that we are complete partners with the county on a strategic investment program now. I thought, let them, take the first stab at it, and they're going to us for comment. I think, I'd love to hear your comment. After you have a chance to read it, it's not very long. I would certainly have opinions, but I'd like to hear yours first.
So immediately when it says the county does everything. And that seems like it's a 50-50 proposition, or maybe there needs some further negotiation, I would say.
My expectation of this was, in projects that the court had was not involved in any way, the court could step back, let the county take the lead or do it, but then when the court is involved, then they'd be involved together, kind of like Grant's 3, only instead of with affected entity. Well, I guess the Port of Morrow would be the affected entity, the Port of Morrow affected, and they would be part of the process. What I was looking forward to. But there are projects that the Port of Morrow is not involved in, that does happen. That does not.
Yeah, the agreement is outside us prior to this.
Right, so I think
Solution.
most cases, so, that's what I was hoping for. I guess it does give, this gives, kind of gives the court veto, court can veto what's going on, but that's not. Well, anyway, that's, I don't know how to word that, or how, if that makes any sense or not.
My concerns on this agreement is, well, on the concept of this IGA and the fact that SIPs and enterprise zones are going to be competing against each other. That's the problem that I have. There are differences between enterprise zone and SIPs. For example, 130% wage improvement, not required by the SIP. Yes, by the enterprise zone. Just lost one of the other ones that the difference was. But I just don't want one used against the other. We've already had comments made by people that were interested in, or companies that were interested in being here saying, oh, the school, 50%, that was the other one I was thinking of. SIP does not have to contribute. It's not taken out of the payments to the SIP organization or IGA, where it is with an enterprise zone. And, you know, thankfully, Morrow County Education or Morrow County School District chose 15% when they should have chosen 30. So that was thoughtful of them, because really the state just deducts that out of our per student payment. So it's just money going to the state. So I appreciated the 15% from school district. However, we've got two programs that will compete against each other. And I don't want to be played one against the other, the county against the port all the time. That's my first concern. My second is I've had constituents come up to me and say, I'm concerned where the money's going to go. If the port isn't involved in the SIP agreements, how is the county going to use that money? I personally like the idea of spreading money around to, for example, incorporated cities to help them with their economic development and infrastructure and things like that. I think that the county is more interested in having discretionary funds and having 90% of them from SIP agreements. I asked Commissioner Wendholz, as an example today when we were discussing for a moment, the SIP agreement on Bombing Range Road was very much like the enterprise zone agreements, the 5 or 6 that we approved at the same time. I said, I understand that the funding that came up originally for the special districts went to the special districts, and they voted to exclude the county, which that commissioner did not appreciate. Or for the most part, they were excluded. Tell me if I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm saying this wrong.
That's of a very minimal amount. In
Right.
the service fee part, but yes, in the first several, there were windmill projects. Yeah, no, the county was excluded because
75% vote of the served districts that are there. that can make the decision.
Well, no, it was because the county already had more money coming into them from the SIP than that little bit that was, in our opinion, intended for the, other taxing districts.
I see. So,
So two things on that real quick. It's, in the beginning, the county opted out of that $500,000.
Initially, they did opt out themselves,
And then they didn't,
and then they didn't.
and now the 500's turned into 2.5 million.
Right.
But what we heard was, and we haven't verified that, but what we heard was that the special districts group outvoted the county on the 2.5 million and opted the county out of that.
I have not read the minutes or been in any meetings in that time period. So it has to be, well, I don't know how they would outvote the county. Because before, basically, there were two districts that could run the show. Because there were two special districts that had more than 75% of all the taxing authority in the county of special districts.
Yeah, that would point out that the county is a factory, so. It's not like they're a stranger or some kind of odd thing out there, they're elected, they have their be, I don't know, but. They may have different priorities than Port of Morrow, but that doesn't make them less Morrow County's priorities.
no, I understand. A lot of it, there is, what was expressed to me was discretionary funds is very important to be able to use on roads, for example.
Yeah, I agree, especially the funds should be used on things. I would prefer to use on the things that they don't allow property tax.
My question then was,
Which should probably be roads.
yeah, enterprise zone has to fund community development. But the $5 million each time was the ground, they break ground. Well, the bombing range one broke ground, was $5 million given to the SIP organization and to the county? If so, where'd it go? You know, the enterprise zone decided to disperse it to a number of places, including the Clean Water Consortium for $1 million. That was, in my opinion, very generous of the three groups that were there, county, Boardman, Port. That's gonna help the water consortium a great deal. Would that happen if there was some input or some reply?
And it had to, because that's exactly, there was 5 enterprise zones in one SIP. And it was 5 times 6, it was $30,000 that they were going to, $30 million that they were going to give to the school one. And when the school one didn't pass, they did give the $30 million. That's the money that Amazon split into the $5 million service fee, so. Yes, the SIP agreement, the 178, I believe was identical to the in-person agreement on the other 5. They were all written at the same time.
I bring that up, yeah, I bring that up only as a concern of mine that how the money is spent. I've had a number of constituents across the county say, I would really prefer that it was more like the enterprise zone here, 1/3%, but so. The money might get to some of the organizations. So that's just my opinion. Well, community bias, you know.
Well, we did say this is just a starting point, right?
Absolutely.
So what do we want to
Add to it.
grandfather?
No comments?
Again, this is very much tailored about Morrow County. You don't see too many words where the court's involved, the county's deciding who the SIP manager is going to be. The makeup, I mean, there's several things here. The county gets a lot of the fees. Which again, if it's a 50-50 proposition, then it should be tailored that way, and that agreement doesn't say that. Plain and simple. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. I favor the CREZ agreements as well. They seem to be working appropriately. Whether or not they can continue to tailor the SIP agreements along with, that's up to the county and the port. If they want to tailor those in the fashion of a CREZ agreement, they can.
Let's think about how Crest works with the Morrow County Board working together on Crest 3, but I was asking how's Morrow County, Port of Morrow working under Crest 3? Is that an agreement or?
Yeah, we
why
have
can't-
an agreement
why
and
can't we
it is working well and
structure something more like that, except maybe add in that if the port's not involved on the project, it's set aside.
that's an option.
And and that was my understanding, we were gonna try to tailor the SIP agreement along with the Crest 3 to have that kind of balance. So that they're as close to each other as possible.
We certainly didn't want to be in a position that an applicant would choose one over another because of the deal that got cut by the party cut the deal. And I think we need to all remember that our constituents are the same between the Port of Morrow and Morrow County. It's every resident of this county. And I think it's okay for us to be involved in the SIP program and be a true 50% partner. That doesn't mean that we need to sit and say, okay, when it's time to spend the money, you get half, we get half. The two bodies ought to be able to work together to find strong projects in the county to fund, which could be transportation, roads, bridges, housing, community development, water projects. I mean, there's all kinds of things that we all have in common to benefit the entire county. So that's what I would suggest.
For example, in the IGA, registry, does the county have to sign it? Does the county have to be a partner in the registry?
Yes,
They have to be by law.
they can be by law.
Can be or have to?
They have to sign off on
They
it.
have to sign off.
They have to approve.
They have to approve it, but they have to be one of the IGA partners.
They don't have to, yeah, but they have to.
They have to
Or we
approve it,
can
so-
move forward.
The IGA can't move forward.
Yeah.
So Press 3 invited them in as a partner as well as the final approval.
I don't view them as an outsider.
I understand, we're being treated as an outsider
Well, yes,
now, and so that's what I'm getting at, for this agreement.
okay.
Is there any special rules that the county, when that money goes into the county, like you were talking housing and all these things, counties don't generally get involved in those type of,
But all the
endeavors.
generated from this is really discretionary.
it's all discretionary,
Yeah,
it goes
it's
into
not-
their
it's not
general,
tax dollars.
just goes in.
Any fees into this program are discretionary funds.
So would
That's
we,
why the county likes it, can't use tax dollars on road improvements because they've got road dollar taxes. So,
And correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the early windmill projects gives $1 million every year to the school STEAM program. And that was negotiated in as part of the SIP.
Well, community service fees, in this agreement, for each year of the SIP exemption period, the company proposing a SIP project is required to pay to the county CSF in the amount equal to 25% of the property taxes that would, but for an exemption pursuant to the SIP agreement. So there will be money coming in every year for every project. Probably considerable amounts of it. So yes, I have concerns with, I understand the counties desire to have discretionary funds to spend however they wish. They're gonna do 10% to the port. Yeah, it's about a 10 split. 10%. Which was listed, parties agreed the port will pay 10% of the funds received by the county. So, guess I'm all, I don't mean to say it's a money grab, but I'd like to see the money spread out a little more than just going to a discretionary fund. It's my personal view.
and we're not saying that end result's gonna be any different than the way we spend it, but the port's a partner, and let's be a partner. And let's work on those projects together across the county. And that's my.
I 100% agree, that's what I'm saying, it's gotta be able to work together, not if we're that outside wheel, because that's what we're being proposed at. it was flat said that they didn't even want us to participate in the project. Plain and simple, they were trying to remove us from that. That doesn't set a good tone to move forward and then present something like this. This is gonna be good for Morrow County and the residents of Morrow County. And working together, we can accomplish a lot more than if we're just fighting each other. So we need to come together on this, figure out how to work together as a partner, not as the outsider.
When someone comes to us, Lisa, and wants an abatement program, or someone comes to the county and wants an abatement program, how is that going to be handled now? I mean, that seems like there's a huge conflict of interest on either way it goes. If they go to the county first, the county's gonna say, oh, well, you know, here we've got this SIP agreement. But if they come to the port, we're gonna say, oh, well, here we have this CREZ agreement. But, you know, because obviously the benefits are different for both groups. So how does that
That's
ever
the
going to
barrier
be?
that I'm trying to take away. This.
Yeah,
And, I mean, the programs need to be able to just run together by both parties.
so should they be similar then?
Right, if you just have the civic agreement and you have the enterprise zone and they cover the same boundaries. Well, civic agreements anywhere,
Right,
and the enterprise zone is defined to, like, it's a land mass. An applicant could play those two programs against each other.
yeah.
With, at that time, the county was a partner in the enterprise zone and they were on their own in the civic agreement, so.
Yeah, it's
That
complicated
could
things,
turn out bad for the port in the future.
and especially if they're picking
But
it
now
up.
that we're
manage-
partners, and partners in both, we shouldn't, we can pick which one, the applicant's gonna pick which one will apply for it, but the negotiation will be easier.
Would we like to see what we need is another board?
That's all we need is one more board.
Basically, yeah, sit board, with the board and family.
Absolutely.
Well, sorry.
No, you're,
I
please speak up.
think is, we need to keep the two programs as much alike as we can in order, because those companies are looking for that, well, who's gonna give me the better deal? Absolutely, I mean, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
And
That was my
so-
point, it's like, why don't you take the best one?
We need, because we sponsor both, we need to make sure that both are run the same so that there isn't that back and forth. And again, if the county has a specific project that they want to target, I would think that the port would listen to that and say, well, listen, maybe we ought to help you out on this and move in that direction. Or if the port has a project that they need to move forward on with infrastructure, whatever, I would hope that the county would do the same in return. So I think there's that give and take. And there's no reason there couldn't be more give and take. But they need to be the same project, basically the same concept when it comes to negotiating.
Maybe same qualification.
Absolutely.
So, and that was a comment that Commissioner Wendell's made too. He said, first, this is a rough draft. This is a first, please propose that. And second was, points that I took from our conversation. When it said policies to be adopted by the county, he wanted to make sure that the board understood that the board can have input on those policies. For example, 130% page issue. So, I think that we just need to propose something back. That's our next step. And I'd be curious to know how you commissioners want to proceed with writing up something to go back to.
Well, I would think we would ask staff to propose a updated agreement, that's targeted along with the, verbiage of the CREZ agreements. But I think we have, like I said, there's 3, we have an agreement with the county. Can it look a lot like that? In which we can formulate either way, bring it back to us for, comment or review, or send it to us so we can review it and add our input as to whether we like it or not.
We could, we could make the credit 3 board also manage the SIP program. I think it's a.
And there are differences between the two programs.
Yes.
One of them is the automatic 15% payment out of the present to the state.
Department of Education. The SIP is an automatic $2.5 million, given to all of the passing districts. So there are differences. But we don't want the applicant to pick and choose when we're partner, really supposed to be a partner club.
What's the benefit or non-benefit between SIP and PRES and special districts? Is there much of a difference there?
SIP can be anywhere, so that's not a designated area. And right now, at the enterprise zone, you're bound to 15
square miles.
15.9 square miles or something.
Yeah.
And so much distance between sites. So there are some.
But those boundaries could be moved as the
Yeah.
project.
Absolutely, and we have done that over time. We've boundaries, we put property in, we take property out.
But for payment to a special district, what changes from one to the other besides the special districts changing?
In the SIP, they get to provide more money. But whether the larger taxing districts they're in that as well.
Yeah, I was just looking at the percentages and Morrow County collects or receives 27.67% of the property taxes. So if they were by law included in that vote, they would have to approve anything because they would automatically put everybody over.
It's there.
Or
75% has to be reached, right? So they're more than 25%.
if they're included in the vote, they can't be. Yeah, it's right.
They have to say it at all times.
And just so you know, ours is like 0.00.
We have one vote out of 1,000.
Yeah.
Keep loud, there was council.
Well, I propose that we take some time to think about it and maybe get our comments to Lisa and just have a little more time to mull it over.
Okay, we have a proposal brought back, with using our comments for the next meeting. That's all right. All right. All right, thanks, everyone. Any other old business today? Okay. Moving on, new business, secondary treatment update, article presentation. Welcome, Nick. You gotta hear all the county politics.
No, thanks again for having me. I'm gonna scoot up here just so the microphone can pick me up. Let's see here. Okay. Does that look okay on your end? Great. All right, thanks again for having me. If you don't mind, I'm gonna keep seated just so I can keep the slideshow going. I'm Nick Growy, Aqua Engineering, here to provide an update on the secondary process project. Last we spoke was early May, I believe it was. We were kind of in the midst of a concept evaluation of actually Jake's good idea to do what's called a sequencing batch reactor. It's an earthen basin. It's a very unique approach to this type of treatment. So we were at the time evaluating that idea. We thought it was feasible, so we've continued on that track and further refined our designs. And in fact, just last week, we submitted our preliminary design report to Oregon DEQ to meet the first major compliance milestone, which is a preliminary design report, 30% design milestone submittal by September 1 of 2025. So I'll be talking about that, and then we'll dive a little further into cost and just overall implementation schedule, what we're looking at next. So I've got slides to cover most of these items, but we'll talk about the purpose of the update, or I kind of covered that already. Talk about project drivers. Why do we do secondary treatment in the first place? Timeline of key milestones, influent basis of design. What what water is coming into the secondary treatment process, and then effluent basis of design, what water is leaving that secondary treatment process. Discuss the alternatives evaluation. Although Jake had an excellent idea from the get-go, we wanted to compare that with some more traditional approaches to secondary treatment processes, just to really vet it out before we've landed on this is a solution. And then I'll share the updated process flow diagram and updated site plan that we did include in the PBR submittal to DEQ. That dovetails into our solids handling approach, capital and O&M costs, and then the overall implementation schedule. Certainly invite questions as I go through the slide deck here. There's a lot of technical information, so please do feel free to raise your hand if you've got questions. So kind of already talked about this. We spoke about the final concept design, or we finalized the concept design, if you will, after our initial presentation to you all in May. Submitted our preliminary design report last week, September 1st. We're going to highlight capital and O&M costs. I don't believe we had O&M costs defined at our May meeting, so wanted to share that with you today. And we'll go over schedule, procurement, and value engineering.
Maybe a quick question.
Sure.
The information you're talking about today, was that part of the June 17th document that we had in our packet last month, or is it different from that?
I can't speak to what was in the June 17th packet. I'm sorry. I believe we were here the 7th of May is the last piece of information that Aqua has shared with you all. So I'm not too sure. I'm sorry about that. Project drivers, why do we do secondary treatment? So the current anaerobic lagoon system has an effluent, or the water that leaves those anaerobic lagoons has a total nitrogen concentration of roughly 110 milligrams per liter. The DEQ reuse permit requires an effluent that is usable for crop uptake. And we've landed on design targets to drop that 110 down to 40. And we're also looking to reduce what we call biological oxygen demand, or BOD, and TSS, which stands for total suspended solids. We're cognizant of those two constituents in the water because we don't want to damage or overload the winter storage lagoons. We don't want to see too many solids accumulating in those over the winter time, and we're also very sensitive to generation of smells. So some not particularly permit bound by those characteristics, but they are things that we're thinking about and including in the design. Just a refresh on overall schedule. So May, you saw the alternatives evaluation. June, we finalized that study, which then allowed us to step into true design. So between June and September, we executed a full design agreement with the port, which will carry us through the 100%. Sorry about that. September, we submitted our PDR. That's the first major milestone with DEQ. And then our next major milestone isn't until April of 26, where we will be submitting our 90% design to DEQ. There are some intermediate processes and steps that I'll dive into a little bit further, but from a big picture standpoint, that's kind of what's getting us to the finish line when it comes to the design phase anyway. Influent basis of design, what is coming into this secondary treatment process. So I'll give major kudos to Chad Snyder and his team. They've been diligently working on a massive sampling program that has been going on this whole summer. Every week we asked Chad to give us more sampling information so that we can fully characterize the wastewater quality. There's seasonality to it, temperature changes, changes in industry practices. We want to have a full understanding of what is coming into this system before we really refine the designs too much, because in reality, we have to design for the worst case scenario. those sampling efforts are ongoing. And they will continue for probably the next several months. But we feel that with the information that we have today, we've landed on a basis of design, a good understanding what is coming into the plant.
I have a quick question, sorry.
Sure thing.
Michael from our, so we approved some year or two ago, a process, an application process for effluent discharge from our processors, right? It has, does that have to meet certain quality? Do we have control over what processors? We're still working through those agreements with our processors. Okay, so right now, we take whatever's given to us, no matter what, right? Pretty much, we don't have much choice right now. Okay. All right. But they have made a lot of improvements, John. And like East Plant has significantly improved on their solids. They were giving us a lot of sand a year ago. So, okay, thank you.
A lot of these sampling protocols that we're continuing to work on right now will actually help to better characterize who is contributing what and at what time of year. So we're hopeful that, you know, this frankly very expensive sampling program isn't solely beneficial to this project, but maybe other efforts that the port is working on. Anyway, what we see here on the left side, these influent concentrations are what we're designing to. This influences the technology selection, the sizing of the systems. 110 milligrams per liter total nitrogen down here in the middle. That is kind of the main constituent that we're concerned about, but there's other constituents that are concerning that we intend on removing or substantially reducing through this process.
I think one of them was phosphorus. That's in the report that I was reading from last time.
Yes.
When is that going to be regulated? And what's your crystal ball?
That's a good question. You know, different jurisdictions have different opinions. Oregon is one of many jurisdictions that we work in, and I have not seen a huge trend as of yet on regulation of phosphorus. I think with this particular system, where we're a land application system, we're not discharging to the river, for example. We're not so concerned with algae blooms. That's a huge contributor to phosphorus. So I think if we were dealing with a discharge permit, that would be a constituent that would be part of the permit. But being that this is a land application system, I don't see that being regulated anytime soon. I personally don't see a reason to, but
Consider it.
It's a great question. Yeah, you never know what the regulators are going to do.
We're working hard to get rid of nitrogen.
Yes,
My just concern is we might have other things in our life.
it's a very valid concern. Anyway, with all of that sampling information, with our coordination with the port, Parametrics is the land application agronomic consultant. We've been working very closely with all these different parties, and we've landed on a effluent target of 40 milligrams per liter total nitrogen. We feel that is a good happy medium that will allow the port's crops to uptake all that nitrogen without impacting the groundwater. So that is what we're running with as of today. And then the BOD and the TSS, really not part of the permit, more tied to keeping the lagoons in good shape. We're going to reduce those numbers down to 30 milligrams per liter each. So as part of this process, we evaluated several different technologies, 8 in fact. Even before that, you guys are very aware that the original design was what's called an oxidation dish system. And certainly an effective system, but cost prohibitive. So we looked at 8 different activated sludge processes, different technologies. We informally requested costing information from a variety of vendors and distributors, and we tried to come up with what we thought was a very good apples to apples comparison of all these 8 different systems. Through that process, we were able to shortlist 2 That is a conventional activated sludge system that you see in many municipal wastewater treatment plant applications. And then back to the original thought of a sequencing batch reactor in an earthen basin. Those are the two real shortlist candidates. Through the costing evaluation, both capital and O&M and operational flexibility that the port desires, we've landed back on the original recommendation then, and that is a sequencing batch reactor in earthen lagoons. We validated, you know, Jake's original suggestion, modified it a little bit here and there, but we truly do feel that that is the best solution given the capital and O&M flexibility in operations, and then importantly, compatibility with earthen basins. That is a very unique system to incorporate this treatment system with, but we're confident that it's going to work, and that's probably the biggest cost saver, I think, as compared to the oxidation ditch that you all have seen. I apologize, this figure is not easy on the eyes. I pulled this from our report that we had submitted to DEQ, but what this is it's a process flow diagram. It essentially describes how the water enters into the treatment system. So from left to right, we're traveling through the treatment system here. What we have is 4 different process trains. We'll be splitting the flows evenly into those different process trains. Each process train consists of 2 basins. On the left side here is what we call a pre-anoxic mixing basin. The water will then move from that basin into the SBR basin, or sequencing batch reactor basin. So this is where the magic happens. Right here is in the middle. That is where all the nitrogen and BOD is removed. That the nitrogen is either turned into ammonia, or it will get collected into a sludge solid form. So out of the right side here, these green arrows, that is our clean water that will be discharging either to the storage lagoons for long-term storage during the winter time, or to irrigation. This pink line here, it represents what we call the waste activated sludge. In order to keep the biology in these reactors happy, we do need to continuously remove sludge. We're continuously creating this sludge. So that's what's represented by this pink line here.
And that has to be removed and disposed of in some way.
Yes. So as of right now, what we're planning on doing with that thickened sludge, or first of all, we're going to thicken it up. It's a relatively low concentration sludge. We will thicken it through some different technologies that we're looking at right now. We're actually going to return it to the front end of the anaerobic digesters. There is still usable organic matter in that sludge. So if we send them back through the digesters, we will reduce the volume of the sludge, and we will actually increase biogas production within the anaerobic digester. So it's kind of a win-win right there. We're reducing the amount of sludge that we do have to ultimately get rid of, and we're also increasing the gas, which we're frankly very happy about. This does allow for an add-on of a dewatering system that would allow us to produce cake. It's essentially a solid that will then either be exported to a landfill, could potentially be used as a soil amendment. It's a fantastic soil amendment. We have not finalized what that plan is there, but this is kind of the meat of the process, if you will. This is how we remove the nitrogen. This is how we comply with the DEQ regulations, is this flow diagram.
The different options are going to affect operating expenses, I'm sure.
Very much so, yes. And I've got a couple of those alternatives that I'll share a little further down. This is a preliminary site plan layout. We had a slightly different arrangement during our May meeting. I anticipate this is going to change quite a bit, but we've placed that process flow diagram on the ground. We're occupying approximately 20 acres adjacent to the existing anaerobic lagoons. Included in these process basins here, we have equalization basins that will allow us to take those peaks and valleys in the flow that we receive. And there is an operations building. There's going to be a lab, probably some office space for operators, restrooms, break room. And there's also space for a fifth treatment process train for future expansion.
What percentage of growth is in the 4 trains now? Is it 30%? Is that what?
Yes, so that's exactly right. We're planning on a 13 million gallon per day system. As of right now, the port's historical peak flows are around 10 million gallons per day. So this initial phase will give you room to expand between 30 and 40% of your flows.
What would a 5th train add? What percentage?
A 5th train would add 25%, so that would get us to 15 and change. So plenty of room to grow. On to solids handling. So I kind of talked about it a little bit, but a byproduct of the SBR process is biological solids, or waste activated sludge. WAS is what you'll hear us call it. WAS needs to be removed from the system on a continual basis for stable treatment performance within those basins. We are looking at returning that WAS to the anaerobic lagoons to reduce that solids number. The anaerobic lagoons will actually degrade that solid, make it smaller and smaller, create gas out of it. So that's a win, is less solids to deal with at the back end and more gas. So money savings on both parts.
Nick, can I ask another capacity question?
Please.
Go back to it. So say 40, what is it, 40 parts per million, 40 versus what is it?
40 parts, parts per million and milligrams per liter are actually the same.
40 parts per million. Say somebody comes back and says we need to get down to 30 or 1. Adding a 5th train will accomplish that?
Adding a 5th train would help with that, because what we would likely do is increase the time that the water spends in this process. So if we wanted to get down to 30, we would essentially be reducing the MGD capacity of those 4 trains by slowing that process down.
Right.
Now, I have a couple of my technical colleagues on the call, Cody or Bob. I certainly invite you to chime in if I've misstated that. But that's kind of my thoughts on how we would achieve that.
I can just add real quickly, if you guys can hear me.
Yes.
Two things we can control. We can control the mass of biology in the basins. So we have conservatism built into the biological process design, and it's based on a certain concentration of what we call the mixed liquor suspended solids, which is the active biomass, the volatile component of that MLSS. So we do have room in the basins to increase the concentration and get a little more treatment, and we can control other variables in the process as well to I guess tap into a bit of the conservatism built into the overall process design. So you may not need the 5th basin to get to 30. We'll just have to run the 4 basins a little closer to the edge.
Yeah, I'm not saying that, I'm advocating for that right now, but
sure,
the chance need to, if we ever opportunity to. Thank you.
It's a very real concern. So we've always got that on the back of our minds. And to Bob's point, engineers are typically very conservative with design. So we like to kind of plan for the extreme. But yeah, I think that's something that we could potentially do. We're trying to navigate this whole process with DEQ by our side. I would hate to see us DEQ approve this very expensive project only to come back and say, oh, well, now you have to do something else. So we try and program that flexibility and as best we can without costing you guys too much on the upfront. Back to solids handling. So again, we're gonna thicken the WAS, recycle that back to the anaerobic digesters. That reduces disposal volumes and costs, and it provides flexibility for the potential to add a future dewatering system, which essentially removes solids entirely from this site. And that can either be landfill disposal, soil amendments, what have you. There's a variety of places that those solids could end up. Capital and O&M costs. We are at a $69.5 million capital estimate. Now I will caveat, this is 2025 dollars. These numbers change on a weekly basis. So we hope strongly to stay within that neighborhood. That includes basin construction, lots of piping in between all the different basins and process areas, various pieces of equipment, buildings, electrical, and controls. I'll get to it a little further in the slide deck here, but between now and December, we're going to be working really closely with a lot of these technology vendors and suppliers. Once we have one chosen, we have a winning horse, we will have a much better understanding of what the costs are. So you'll see that number change over time, and it's my goal to keep it where it is or lower, but I can't guarantee that at this point. Operations and maintenance costs. So we are at an estimated $3.6 million in annual O&M expenses. That's inclusive of labor, equipment, materials that are needed, chemicals, and that is without disposal of the solids. If you add a solids disposal system, which is a very real possibility, and we assumed landfill disposal in this particular number, that jumps up from 3.6 to $5 million per year. Overall implementation schedule. So we are here at the top, September 2025. We've submitted to DEQ. We're working on advertising requests for proposals for major treatment process equipment. That's really two RFPs. One of them is for the SBR equipment itself, and then the other is for the solid handling or the WAS thickening systems. Those are two very big ticket items, and different vendors have different variations in how the SBRs and solids handling systems work. So we try and go through that early procurement during design so that we can cater the rest of the facility to those specific technology providers. So we're going to be advertising for those two this month. October, November, we will be interviewing RFP respondents, conducting site visits to reference installations. Certainly not going to be a guinea pig on somebody's new SBR technology. We want to make sure that we're selecting something that's proven, and we really like to do a couple of site visits, talk to folks that are operating these facilities, understand what the pain points are, get Chad and his team talking with their operations personnel. We feel that that's a very, very valuable time spent, so that by December, we will have these major equipments selected, which will then enable us to dive into detailed design. Between December and April, we will really ramp up our own design efforts in preparation for the 90% submittal. That's our next due date with DEQ. By 90%, we call it 90% on paper, but from my perspective, it could be built at that point in time. The designs are detailed enough that they could be built, but we haven't gotten that DEQ final buy-in. So we keep it at 90%. We anticipate some back and forth with DEQ after that milestone is achieved. We'll incorporate their final review comments into the plans, and we're aiming for about 100% by July of next year. So going through the schedule quick, it seems like it's a long ways out, but there's a lot of work to do between now and then, and we feel confident that we're gonna hit this schedule. Honestly, this September 1st deadline was the most worrisome for me personally. Now that we've gotten beyond September 1, we can not relax, but go about our days a little bit less stressed, if you will. Next steps, at least in the immediate horizon, we're obviously waiting to address any comments received on the preliminary submittal to DEQ. As I mentioned, we're going to be issuing and evaluating RFPs this fall and through the remainder of this year. Incorporating those selected firms or selected technologies into our design work. And then, yeah, it's the lucky man that gets to continue sampling to help us optimize the process. That's all I've got today. Certainly welcome more questions. Probably not a real material shift from what you've seen previously in our May presentation to you all, but the last 4 months we were really spent solidifying our assumptions, characterizing that data, and now we feel confident that we are on the right track to solve this nitrogen problem for you.
I guess one last comment is that best practices, I hope we're incorporating them into the design. Like, I mean, I assume they are. I mean, you talked about it, this vortex grit chamber and grit classifier and all these different things to remove solids. Is that what that's for?
Yeah, so grit.
I guess my only comment, you don't have to explain it all, but
Okay.
I just assume that those kind of things will be built into the system too.
They're ongoing discussions for
Okay.
sure. Yes, absolutely. But it's a problem that we need to solve. And we'll certainly shed some more light on it as we learn more. Chad can tell you how intense the grit sampling has been. Been sending a lot of water to, I think the lab is in Chicago, if I'm not mistaken, somewhere in the Midwest. But yeah, we're again really trying to characterize that grit to best understand how to keep it out of the system.
As one commissioner, I would spend more money up front if it made the ability to maintain the system easier in the future.
Yeah, agree completely.
I have just one question and maybe Mark can answer it. You said that we were looking at building a new digester. Is that incorporated into that figure? That he's putting in there? No, that's separate.
The 69.5 is solely for the secondary treatment process, not inclusive of a future digester.
What contingency percentage were you running?
I think we're at a 30% contingency at the moment.
So I don't think those numbers have shifted much since.
No, we really haven't touched our cost estimates since we haven't solidified these technology selections quite yet. Once we go through the formal procurement process and we've, truly selected a vendor and we have a contractual arrangement with them, we will update those numbers. So I'm guessing probably first quarter 2026, I would like to come back to you all and share where we're at.
Great.
Can I ask one more?
Oh, please, yeah, please.
Oh, so last time that you were here, you talked about the flooring either being concrete or being a tarp or matting.
Yeah.
So which one did we decide on?
That 69.5 does assume a concrete floor, so it's probably a couple $1 million adder, but over the life cycle of this facility, we truly believe it's the better solution. And Chad and Jake and these guys will not enjoy it, but they'll like it much more than the alternative. So we don't want to step over dollars to pick up dimes. We feel like that's a very good inclusion.
What kind of worried me when you said earthen, and I thought, oh, earthen, that doesn't sound like we have much of a base.
No, the unique aspect is says the liner system, it's the tarp essentially, will be in sloped ground, holes in the ground, basically. Whereas the previous system, the oxidation ditch system, was entirely concrete structures, just an amazing amount of concrete. Certainly an effective system, but maybe not the most cost effective.
Any questions today? Hey, thank you. I appreciate
Of course, thanks for having me.
it. Yeah. Thanks, steady progress.
Great.
Moving on, sand dunes dam safety review.
So I think this is pretty brief, just a quick update. Back in June 24th, we had dam safety on site. A little bit unusual, they brought a inspector from Salem to join, the local inspector. Normally Greg, Zabardaco, our local, water master performs those inspections, but I think with anticipation of the big lagoons coming online, with the high hazard rating, they're gonna be bringing an inspector out from Salem, so they brought a new inspector out. So anyways, they were on site the 24th, everything went great, got their inspection report, passed with flying colors.
Thank you. Good. Any questions? All right. Thank you, Jacob. Any other new business? Okay, moving on to staff reports, projects updates.
I'll start and Jacob, but I'll give the update on the contract. Silver Creek is supposed to start mobilizing on this coming Friday. And we'll start putting silk fence up and taking trees down, getting the process started. So that's good.
One of the landowners is the fact that they're not manufacturing, was wondering about, they've got a big job coming in. You're asking about where to put equipment, 16 something, big trucks, I guess.
Okay.
So they best not put it where they're being, where that mitigation work's gonna be done.
We'll reach out to Eric and have a conversation.
Would you?
We can stage another area for him to put that material, because we're gonna have to move everything in the low area and bring that up, so. Yeah, we'll reach out to Eric.
I guess they're coming in fairly soon, but project starting soon, that's great.
Yeah, the well, that will be advertising probably next week. Be well up there. That's the CR.
But the savings on that project, that's great.
Yeah, I'm hopeful it's gonna save us a lot of headaches. Get people up there.
Then the community can meet, decide if they want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you. Great. Okay.
So yeah, so we can, I guess before I kick it over to Nick, quick update on our most active projects, probably surface water treatment plant. Both sites are under full construction. They've been pouring concrete for the new settling basins, pipe infrastructure underneath the future foundations, the pouring foundation for the structures in the coming months, and they're on schedule and on budget so far. So still projected for completion end of year 2026. So those are going well. To feed one of those surface water treatment plants, the Coonsey feed line, we've had everything's out to bid. We've opened all bids, so the pipe installation, low contractor Rashi, we've issued agreement in place. They came in under budget. We awarded the canal bore to Gonzalez Pouring. They came in at a good price, under budget. And then also we just opened last week the booster stations to pressurize the water that goes through the pipeline, and the apparent low bidders, Rashi. So fortunately, I think we'll have the same contractor working on both the pipeline and the booster stations, which is a good thing. Permitting, we're still working with West Extension on laterals under Coonsey Road. The Coonsey Road permit has been submitted to Morrow County for right of entry to get into the Coonsey right of way. And we got some good news this morning from Bureau of Reclamation. The canal crossing bore permit, which was our big concern, will be issued as soon as they're sending us some documents to sign and send back. And as soon as they receive those, they'll be issuing that permit, so we'll be in front of the November 1st date for irrigation season. So, it's going well.
Really like hearing multiple expressions of under budget and on schedule.
Well, I think we're enjoying kind of a market softening across the construction field, so we're seeing some very competitive numbers right now.
Good for us.
And paid for by somebody else.
And they- I see, okay, yeah.
So general airport distribution, I don't remember the last update I gave, but the system is up and operational. Aside from a strike in the last couple of weeks, taking part of the system back offline, but we're actively working on getting it put back into service. So the pumps are working well, the tanks performing well, and so it's in good shape. Well 6 is pretty much commissioned. Our electrician finished up their work there last week, so it's ready to put into service. And East Beach, the improvements on the electrical facility to upgrade the electrical as part of our East Beach booster station is underway. They've dug foundations and the electrical team's been in, putting in all the underground, and we're looking to finish that up in, I think it's roughly 3 or 4 months.
Thank you, great update, appreciate that.
Anything else? So anyways, I'll leave the lagoon update to Nick, because normally he just sends me the notes and I read them to you. He gets to take the glory this one.
The timing for the commission update was good. I had a meeting this morning actually on site at the farm number 3 lagoon project. We've got a bi-weekly meeting with the contractor. Farm number 3 it looks pretty much like it's done. They're finishing up electrical work as we speak, but the liner system is completed. The pumping system is complete. The pipelines are all connected. So just pretty much electrical work remaining on farm 3. Very excited about that. Farm number 4, earthwork should be complete by October. Lining is underway right now, so they're starting to line it before they finish the earthwork. Everything is looking good. I think we're gonna get across the finish line by our compliance deadline, which is November of this year. So all things are looking good.
Great, thank you. Any questions on that? Any other project update? Do we have anything on maintenance pictures and stuff to go through? We're gonna run through some pictures real quick.
You know, I think one update is our crews have been working on the feeder line to get a pipeline out to farm 3. And that's been going well. We brought a bore contractor in last week to bore under our small 17 utility disaster that's underneath the road. We decided to bore underneath instead of open trenching. And so that contractor's here, and we don't have a lot left to do to get that pipe installed. The farm 3 lagoon. I think there's.
Looks like these are maybe from a couple of weeks ago. Yeah. Yeah, happy to point some stuff out to you guys.
This is all from farm 3. This amount of liners has now been installed, so no more vehicles down in the lagoon. It's actually from the rain that's happening the last couple of days, the pump barges have started to float, which is kind of fun to see. Reassuring that they do float. The pipeline work on the back end here, that's where the long pipeline is connecting to, that's all getting connected up, so. Really coming together nicely.
How long is that cat walk?
About 330 feet, 350 feet.
Like the football field.
I went down to the pump barge myself, and by the time I got back up, I was out of breath.
It's, yeah, we'll give you guys a tour out there to put it in perspective. It's the pictures really don't give it justice at all.
No, not at all. These pump barges are nearly 20 feet tall, so you stand next to them and it's just the scale of this is quite impressive. The half moon shape is 50, 60 acres, something like that. So it's a big pond, 850 something million gallons. Pretty impressive storage project. Number 4.
It's new, so you can play with it.
So yeah, this is, looks like it's probably a couple, 2-3 weeks old now, but this is the exterior of the proposed embankment right here. This wall is pretty much at grade. This wall is at grade. They're finishing up work on this edge here. And liner work has actually begun. You can see just off in the corner there is where the pump barges live, and that's where the pipeline, it's actually in place today. Pipeline carries that water up over the hill. Here's a better view of that pump barge. Big concrete pad that sits on. Pipeline climbs up the wall right there, so that'll be a very similar walkway system. There's that sand dunes pump station right there in the background. So pretty neat project. We borrowed a lot of design from our we do a lot of work with mining clients in Nevada, gold mines and what have you. It's not often that we see pump barges on reclaimed wastewater storage. In fact, this might be the only one. But we're happy to borrow some tips and tricks from other industries and apply it to the port. Yeah, everything's going well. Thank you.
Any questions? So here's some pictures of the surface water treatment plants. It looks like both of these are, well, I guess the upper picture is at our airport and the lower picture would be out at Lewis Park. But you can see the solids handling basin or the solids basin up in the left side of the lower picture is really taking shape. And you can see out at the airport, they ran into a little bit of rock out there. We did get away from, they were thinking they're gonna have to do some blasting at that site, and we were pretty nervous about blasting close to our new 2 million gallon tank with 20 feet of water and the new distribution station next door. So we were excited when they brought in the big enough hammer and they got through it with just mechanical techniques, so we didn't have to do any blasting. Like this is a picture of Avangrid Solar. I think that was the intent, so they're well underway with their construction project. We've been sending a lot of construction water that way to their contractor with our new system, which has been really nice from perspective of ongoing maintenance and being able to use the new system versus the old irrigation system we had in place. It's been a big improvement.
That's right, strip. Yeah, crack seal, our crews, we rented a seal machine, our crews the last couple of weeks have been cracks in the airport parking lot.
The bottom right picture is pretty exciting. So that's construction efforts for the new access gate. So we're shutting down access to the drag strip. So this is our new underground one in there for a new automated gate that's going to be out there with a keypad for restricting the general public from having drag races.
They're just gonna use the road.
I was gonna say, they're out there every weekend still.
One probably new update is we did get new radar speed signs in and installed at the airport. We still have the program.
That should be fun for them.
We've got them ready to go to Claremont.
How fast have you go?
What's good about those, you can cap them at a certain speed so that they don't get to see how fast they're going.
So the one we've had before, we program them to, they just start flashing slow down once you exceed 10 miles an hour. Speed with the idea that you'll get people trying to see how high they'll go.
So how does that access work for to the airport? I mean, so you fly in and the gate's locked, how do you get out?
So you're always gonna be able to get out. Now, coordination with who uses the airport, who doesn't use the airport, we're gonna have to coordinate and figure out how we can get that code out to the pilots or people needing access. So.
We can use their pilot code. There's no, they'll know what that is. It's general.
Fantastic, thank you. Financial updates, Henry.
Hey. Well, you'll see that we got caught up on our, billing and collecting issues. Our unrestricted staff is at my. The other thing that you'll see, like if you flip to the discharge section. It looks like we're over budget on electric, but. Occurring there is if you look down 1, 2, 3 more lines, reduce farm costs. You know, right now, if Natasha pays a power bill, she codes it to electricity. And we really need to pull those farming costs out from the other. It's all still part of the discharge segment. So we just need to do a little work on. Cause you know, I was gonna say we've never farmed before, but we haven't farmed since what, 2003. So it's been a while. Okay, the other thing that has occurred is we knew last year that Unifil Electric was looking at some rate increases. They finally published those last week. Depending on what our meters are classified as, our increase will be anywhere from 5% to 17%. But I think the 10% that we were guessing is still going to cover us overall. So like the warehouse, it's 5%. Irrigation is 17%. So, you know.
Those are farming enterprise.
We need to do a little more work on, you know, making sure that we budgeted accurately. It looks like on sites that insurance, I still quite didn't make it with insurance. We keep adding new stuff, then it keeps costing us more money to insure it, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. Other than that, I didn't really notice anything of concern. I did put a note when we sent last month out. My initial reaction was, oh my goodness, how can we already be over budget in payroll? But it was a 3 payroll month, and we don't do that adjustment separate at the end of the year. So when you look back at the first page, our personal services are not over where you would expect them to be at the end of August, which was not the case the end of July.
Maybe even out over time.
Yep, it was out. Anyway, as always, there's tons of numbers here, and if you have any issues or concerns or just why, don't hesitate to ask.
Any questions? Thanks, Adam. Usage reports, did everyone have a chance to look at them? Do they have questions?
Good. Normal.
Okay, other staff reports. Okay. Other reports, Willow Creek Valley Economic Development Group, I don't believe, Ken is traveling. DCDA.
Yeah, so I apologize, I just realized in the back of the day, we'll give you guys September's, report. Lots going on in the Chamber World and BCDA, and you have my report here in front of you that it is completed. We continue to invest in housing, business and community commencement projects. The housing, incentive, homebuyers incentive is, they have it, $145,000 out of our $250,000 budget, so those houses are continuing to move. We go down to Tuscany Creek, you will find that every house down in Tuscany Creek has been sold. That is ready to be put on the market, so we're seeing a continuous growth of that. The incubator project, we are working with, some outside entities that we're waiting on some, proposals back on what those services would like for us to build an incubator building. And we haven't received that back, and we continue to have meetings discussing this with the city of Oregon. And what that's going to continue to grow as our project continues to grow with global requests, the businesses that are needing more services in our area, we're having a huge request in executive office spaces and areas for healthcare, offices to be located in, retail commercial areas, so we're excited about that. And beautification projects continue. Right now, we're trying to get ready to go into the winter months, so beautification projects are kind of on hold as far as spring. We're looking at new locations to add more murals. The murals was highly received, and they are loving to look at that, and we have opportunities for other places. It's amazing when you put something out on social media, how much you get back on ideas where they would like to see new murals and new information, new stuff done. So we are looking into that. And through the winter months, we'll be doing some upgrades to the field house. We'll be putting in additional wall coverage all the way up to the ceiling because of the insulation is getting tore up from the walls. We're going to be placing that. We're going to work with UBC on updating our lighting in there to have better lighting with the UBC efficiency program. We are also going to be replacing the turf to make it less, I call it hairy, fuzzy. You walk in the door and it goes on your socks and doesn't come out. It's pretty much like a toss, wear and toss area, but we're looking to expand that and maybe actual value cage areas where the turf is actually formed for hitting off of where they don't wear holes in the turf. And we just continue to grow, and we're thankful for all the support we get. And I just continue to say that economic developments across the county are key success. Each one has a key success piece to their community. Hefner wouldn't have, I just saw a post today that 2 of their houses went on for rent, and that wouldn't be available to Hefner community by having somebody that's investing in those homes. If you guys haven't done what you've done through the community development, through the enterprise money. So as you continue to have those things, that's a huge impact we have, and if it's not there, we're losing these opportunities by these nonprofits to build those projects like we do for sidewalks and different projects here in Morrow. So that being said, we do have our third quarter chamber luncheon next week, and I would like to invite you guys all to come. We're getting an update from Tillamook, but Greg Smith will be there giving a legislative update, and we will also be discussing what the end result of the transportation bill looks like. Hopefully, if they get out of session and get that covered. So it's a great luncheon to join. We have a job serving in our caterer for it. And if you're interested in attending, go on to our website and you can log on our event calendar and find our luncheon information. So.
Karen, I was thinking that she was giving the report that you're gonna end up with the Main Street gap. Well, it's commented on Main Street.
Yeah, the city of Ormond currently has a survey, and I think the chamber is gonna be doing that very soon. And they are looking for where people want the heart of Ormond to be, where they want to have the city center look to it. They have 3 areas located, and chosen, and so they're looking for people to submit a survey for an actual downtown area.
Nice. Right next to the new Fred Meyers.
Yes, right there, right, just right there. I get you
Across the street from Safeway.
All right, thanks, Fred. I can vote. There's a meeting tomorrow.
Maybe tomorrow.
The first meeting.
They always get out easy.
He gets off easy, that's right, but next month, yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah.
Okay, anything other reports? We'll go to the order. Okay, we are, well, we got some upcoming events to mention. September 12th is Governor's Luncheon, that's this Friday. After Western Oak Parade, and October 4th, Port of Morrow Harvest Festival, and October 8th will be our next Port of Morrow regular commission meeting. We are going to, well, we'll adjourn the session in just a moment, but let me read this executive session, see, I gotta get the order right. Adjourn this after I make the announcement, yes, that's the thing to do. Right. Executive session, the court will hold an executive session meeting for the permissible reasons stated below under ORS 1926602. Representatives of the news media and designated staff and other persons shall be allowed to attend the executive session. All other members of the audience will be asked to leave the room. The public virtual Zoom meeting link will be closed during the executive session as permissible. Executive session meetings are not subject to House Bill 2560. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on any of the deliberations during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session previously announced. No decision will be made in this executive session. At the end of the executive session, we'll return to open session and welcome the audience back into the room in person and open the public virtual Zoom meeting and begin. The reason for executive session: A, for the purpose of consideration of deliberations with the court's executive director and other staff members who have been designated by the court to negotiate real property transactions. That's ORS 1926602E. And also for the purpose of consultation with counsel concerning the legal rights and duties of a public body with regard to current litigation or litigation likely to be filed. That's ORS 1926602H. We'll stand adjourned for 5 minutes. I reopen the Port of Morrow regular meeting. This time, 4:33, and I declare, I need to declare personally a conflict of interest, an actual conflict of interest on one topic that was discussed in executive session, and there may be action now. Has to do with Lindsay Ranch, which is a relative, my wife's relatives, and will not partake in discussion or decision making on this topic should it arise. Could a motion be made? Is there any further business to come before the board more today, regular session? Oh.
Do we want to do the farm management now first?
Yes.
I would move that we move forward with the farm management agreement, with Madison Farms with the presented changes. And authorize Lisa to sign.
I'm abstaining from conversation.
So, I'll take over at this point. Kelly has made a motion to accept the farm management agreement presented for us with the changes.
Yes.
And authorizes Lisa to sign. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We have 4 votes passed with 1 abstention.
Thank you, Rick. All right, any other business to come before us today?
I would move that the, direct Sam to put in a, I'm not sure what's called an affidavit or a statement, that we would like to join in the circuit court, litigation with Irrigant and Florida Rural Fire, and present our position.
I'll second that. We have a motion to second. Is there any discussion? Okay, seeing no further discussion, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye. Aye.
Yeah, votes 3-2, Kelly and John, affirmation, and the others opposite.
I didn't hear the result.
Failed.
Failed, okay, thank you.
further business to come before us today? This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
I still have no direction.
It fails, Sam, you don't have to have any direction.
I can't hear you. I'm sorry.
You don't have to do anything.
Excuse me, one of your earlier emails, wasn't your alternative suggestion to visit with the other two attorneys? Is
Yes.
that not the case?
So if I understand, my direction is to put no appearance in. And if I do that, I will contact the other attorneys and ask that they consent that if we do not put an appearance in, they will not take legal action against us. That would be, they would not seek costs and attorney's fees. I don't know for sure, but I think that's something that they would always do.
But they may not.
So we need a motion to do that.
No. Should we?
Just general consensus.
Yeah. That seems like the thing to do at this point.
So if you're looking for a motion, would it be the motion to decide to not put in an appearance and instruct your attorney to get the agreement of the other people that they would not seek costs or disbursements against the port if there is a default?
Roll that.
Yes, I would move that the court not be
You would-
absent and
You would so move.
I would so move.
So just for point of clarification, so did we actually adjourn?
No.
No.
No, we did not. Okay, I misunderstood. So anyway, I apologize.
I'm not sure. We did say adjourned.
I thought you did say adjourn.
You did.
Oh, I'm sorry, then,
So we probably need to reopen the meeting.
okay, great. My apologies. We'll reopen the meeting. It was not finished, so reopen the meeting at 4:38.
Anybody on money?
Yeah.
Okay, I guess, are we good? I saw, maybe we should restate the motion, for our second meeting.
You want me to do that?
Yeah, or I move that we remain absent from the litigation between Berrigan Fire District and Boardman Fire District. And that request that there be no fees.
I second that motion.
We have a motion for a second, which I can't even possibly repeat the motion because it wasn't stated, but,
Didn't I state it?
okay. All those is there any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign. No. So, 4-1.
No. I gotta hear the motion again.
I move that the Port of Morrow remain absent from the litigation between Berrigan Fire District and Boardman. This litigation that we're looking at, and that we ask legal to, I guess, to remain, not be charged fees or fines.
I thought we already had that motion, but now we're talking about a different motion. I guess I'm confused. I thought we already discussed that and had that motion, and now we're
They
talking just about
decided the
fees.
meeting has been closed, so they're doing it again.
Yeah, so I adjourned the meeting and then discussion continued and a motion was made. So then the meeting was reopened. And the motion was made and the vote was taken, but the vote tally is unclear, so we'll do a roll call vote on this motion.
So we're talking about both motions,
No,
just
one.
one motion.
That says we're going to not have any involvement with this.
I don't know then. If we're repeating that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 opposed? Nay.
Nay.
Okay. 3-2. Motion carries. The other direction. Now, anything else today? All right.